So let me welcome all of you. For those who don't know me, my name is Francesca Rosso. I'm a labor market specialist working at the ETF. I'm also the coordinator for the activities of the network, and I'm also here with some of my colleagues, Umuhan Bardak, Timo Kusela, and Cristiana Burzio, Abdelaziz Jouani, who are also part of the team working on skills demand analysis in ETF. We are really happy to have this first peer learning peer learning event with the network. Some of you who were present with us in June at the live meeting in Polenzo may remember that there was a lot of active engagement from the members and a lot of proposals. And one of the proposal was coming from one of the members, basically proposing that we share knowledge internally and that people who have been doing some specific research present it to the other network members, and in a way also offer some coaching activities that could also result in further dialogue and partnership. So we thought that that was a very interesting idea, because that's really what nurtured the dialogue, and that's really the very nature of this network. As we keep saying, this network of experts is not a network of the ETF. The ETF is only a facilitator of the network. This is really a network of the members, and why it was born is because many research entities, many researchers felt in the partner countries of ETF the need to talk more to other researchers, to learn from each other. So this is a bit the context in which this first peer learning activity takes place. And we hope that there will be, of course, more. So this is also a call, let's say, and a proposal for those of you who wish to share their research, their knowledge, to please reach out to us, and we will be very happy to discuss with you and to put a space at your disposal. So the first proposal or self-proposal that we received came from the University of Pisa, and in particular from Filippo Chiarello, who was also with us in Polenzo, and from his colleagues that you will hear in a moment. And the research they have conducted is very much relevant, I think, not only for the Italian context, but for the European context, and for like many of the countries, if not all the countries where we work, because everywhere the need to upskill and reskill the workforce, it's evident. We are talking in the European Union, the European Commission is talking about upskilling and reskilling policies everywhere, but we also see it in our daily life and daily work. And I believe that the research that the University of Pisa is conducting is extremely relevant and could be very inspirational for all of you. And in particular, one other thing that I want to add is also the innovative character of the research that Filippo and his colleagues are conducting, the use of big data. We have been piloting the use of big data in ETF work, and to be honest, it has been quite a breakthrough. It's really something innovative. It does not substitute, obviously, traditional methods of research that still are extremely valid to complement also the findings coming from big data. But however, it's a tool that is becoming more and more prominent, and I think that we should look at it with great interest. So I don't want to take more space because this is not for ETF today, but for the colleagues. Just a couple of words about how we will organize the session today. We will have a 1 hour presentation from the University of Pisa. We will have Simone Barandoni and Irene Spada describing the methodology and the findings, the study results. And then we will dedicate the following hour and a half actually to discuss with you. As I say, this is a peer learning. So the dialogue part, the discussion part is as important as the presentation of the methodology and the findings. So we will have the meeting roughly split in two parts, presentation first, and then open discussion on future applications of the methodology in other countries, hopefully also in partnership maybe with the University of Pisa. So I want first to give the floor to Filippo Chiarello from University of Pisa, who will briefly introduce the research that you have conducted. Filippo, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Francesca. Many thanks, Suman. Many thanks to all the ETF network for organizing this moment of sharing. I would like to look this as a moment of sharing and of mutual understanding of how we can collaborate with other researchers from all over the world, understanding how we can reuse what we will show you this morning. As Francesca has already said, I'm Filippo Chiarello from University of Pisa, and this morning, together with Irene and Simone, which are two PhD students of mine, we will try to show you how we have answered this quite relevant question, that is, are university ready to deliver digital skills and competencies? So what we will show you is a text mining based approach, text mining based method that we have applied on the specific case of marketing domain in Italy. But as you will see, this is a very much reusable tool that we can use in different domains and in different countries, as we will discuss later on. We have published this paper that shows and describes in greater detail the methods. So if you are interested, you can contact us and we can share the paper with you so that you can go even further in detail. The paper has been published last year in Technological Forecasting and Social Change. We are part of a research group that is called Business Engineering for Data Science, which is an interdepartment research group here at University of Pisa that has members from the School of Engineering, a member from the member from the Computer Science department. Our focus is on the use of big data for understanding technological evolution and how this technological evolution impacts education and skills. Today, together with me, as I already told you, there are Irene Spada, that is a PhD student in Smart Industry, in the Smart Industry program here in Pisa, second year, and Simone Barandoni, third year, sorry, and Simone Barandoni, PhD student in National PhD in Artificial Intelligence, always University of Pisa, second year, so who are also co-author of the paper that we show you before. Very briefly, the agenda of today, and then I leave the floor to Irene. We will talk, Irene and Simone will talk about the context that is around the paper that we have shown you, which is the background literature. Then we will move to data and method description. As you have seen, since we want this to be an interaction with you, we put a two Q&A session, one after the data and method description, and the other one after the result description. And then for sure, we will also have a moment and maybe also 5-10 minutes break after the conclusion, where we can have some questions before moving to the brainstorming session. But I really want to underline that everyone, also while Simone and Irene are talking, can write questions in the chat. I will be here looking at it and collecting the questions. Maybe we can interrupt in some point and discuss in further details points if anyone is interested. Otherwise, please ask any curiosity that you have about what we have done in the Q&A questions.
Good morning, everyone. I will start this presentation with framing the context we have analyzed, which is digital transformation. As Francesca also said in the introduction, it is more than just a disruptive technological change. because digital transformation addressed the adoption of digital technologies for delivering new product and service in all kind of industry, and all companies are trying to innovate their offers to include in their product portfolio also digital technologies, but in a broad sense, digital transformation address the whole society. So how we are moving in cities, at home, in the workplace, how organizations are changing their attitude towards the operation and the management. So not only in production service, but also in manage physical and human resources. And last but not least, changes in culture, arts, and music. So digital transformation is impacting all aspects of human being, creating new connections among people, territories, data, and product. For what concerns labor market, companies are now shifting the core of their digitalization strategies from technologies to skills, because, as said, digital transformation is not just a matter of technologies, but human resources have a key role for enabling the potential of digital technologies. Indeed, current and future workforce in digitalization are asked to provide an upgrade of their skill set, not just reskilling and upskilling. They have to be proficient in analytical and technical skills to understand the technical knowledge related to the digital skill, to the digital technologies, to be able to exploit them in their daily operation at work, but also they have to develop transversal skills such as flexibility and problem solving in order to face the complexity of the society. In this sense, the upskilling and the reskilling opportunities are promoting a lifelong learning culture in order to make workers and in general people able to learn fast new content in order to be adapt to the changes of the environment. In this context, higher education should play an active role because higher education, and so university, educational system, VET providers should create new learning opportunities to face the posed challenge. In this sense, many universities are updating their educational offers, adding new content in their program, but also new approaches, new pedagogical approaches to exploit digital technologies also in teaching learning process. And the aim is to decrease the skills gaps, especially in the digital domain. But there are some problems because on one hand, we have the fast pace of technological transformation, and on the other hand, we have the slow change rate of educational system. In fact, there are many barriers to the innovation in higher education that comes from different stakeholder and parts of the system. First of all, there are not so strong interactions between industry and university, while it is important to promote this kind of collaboration, to leverage on the resources that are already present in the industry and provide new learning experience to students. Then university have fulfill some regulatory process that are not so simple usually. So the bureaucracy may require a very long time to be compliant with standard and ensure an update of the programs in order to provide a proper qualification to the workforce. And finally, in several contexts, there is a resistance to change from the staff, so from both operative staff and teachers, towards the utilization of digital technologies in teaching process and integration of digital content in their program. So how to promote a proactive behavior? In this sense, technologies can be an answer because as we have already seen during the COVID-19 pandemic, we experienced the massive utilization of digital technologies in education with distance learning, massive open online courses, as well e-learning environment, virtual or augmented environment. But technologies can be useful also in other part of the process. So before the implementation and after it. In fact, many scholars in literature use technologies for example, for assessing the programs and verify their compliance with standards and qualification, or others use technologies in the design phase. So in the definition of the learning outcomes, or in the definition of the learning activities. Our research is placed in this part of the project, so in the design phase, and in particular, we wanted to exploit text mining to measure gaps and alignment between labor market and university. So let's understand a little bit this aim. So first of all the educational resources and all the information about labor market are in form of text. And so they can be mined, analyzed automatically with artificial intelligence and text mining. Text mining is a stream of literature that address techniques and methods to automatically analyze a great amount of text and extract information to gather knowledge from relevant resources in a given domain, and measure something that usually is only evaluated in a qualitative way, because text is not the first thing that one can think about when we talk about statistics, for example. So the two research questions are focused on a single field, which is marketing, and we decided to analyze the marketing domain because it was one of the first impacted from the digital transformation, because digitalization radically changed the behavior of companies and customers in their interactions. So on one hand, how companies provide customers with new products and service, and on the other hand, how customers choose their product and purchase and finalize the purchasing. So the two questions are: how aligned are the degree courses and the labor market in terms of marketing skills in Italy? And do Italian universities address the relevant marketing competencies for the labor market with the proper focus? Of course, these two research questions are targeted for the marketing domain in Italy, but they can address different fields, so different industry, different sectors, and different countries, and so enlarge the perspective to other nations or also to an international perspective. Now I give the floor to Simone for entering in detail in data and methods.
Yes, thanks, Irene. Hello, everyone. And as Irene introduced, in this section, I'm going to be describing you first the data that we used in our work, and then the methodology in details. As you can see from this slide, we used two different types of data because we aimed at measuring how much, as Irene told you, how much the degree courses and the labor market are aligned here in Italy in terms of marketing skills. So first of all, we needed data from the university and from the labor market. The kind of data that we could use for this purpose are texts containing the descriptions of job vacancies to understand which are the skills which are currently required by the companies and so by the labor market more in general, and other texts containing the descriptions of university exams or degree courses to understand which are the skills which are currently being taught in the universities here in Italy. Then once we collected this kind of data, we also needed something to be searched automatically inside these kind of texts. I mean, to find which are the skills which are expressed there. So we needed to build a lexicon, a list of job competencies that could have been searched into the text to see if they appear and how much they appear. So this lexicon, as you can see on the right, was built by combining a standard European classification and some keywords coming from the scientific literature, as we will see better in a few minutes and in a few slides. So concerning the first type of data, so the job vacancies descriptions, we relied firstly on Indeed, which is a job posting website. It is very famous worldwide, and on it we searched for job vacancies related to the marketing field, collecting 952 of them. Each description is a text containing main information, such as the description of the job position, the location, for example, the salary, and also the part which is most interesting for us, which are, for example, the list of the required skills needed for that job. It is exactly what we needed to know. Of course, this is a data source that we used in our work, but it can also be replaced with other resources or data repositories which are famous worldwide or are used in each different country. On the other side, the university data, for the university data, we collected universities exam programs from Universitali, which is an online database created here in Italy, where students can explore the different universities and the degree courses to make a better choice, let's say. And we searched again for the marketing-related degree programs, and from them we collected 300 exam programs. Each of them again contain main information such as the name of the professor, the modalities of the exam, and then a part which is relevant for us, so mainly the learning outcomes. So which we can see it as the description of the competencies and the knowledge that are taught by taking the course and taking the exam. Again, also for this data source, it was suitable for our job, for our work, but it can be replaced with other resources or data repositories, especially because this one is a website in Italy. So for similar work in other countries, of course, other repositories or databases are needed. Moving to the second type of data, so the job competencies lexicon, we relied mainly on the standard list of job competencies from ESCO, which is an European classification of skill, occupations and qualifications. Actually, it contains more than 13,000 skills, but of course, most of them were out of scope for us. So not they are still concerning all the different jobs. So we wanted to search, we wanted to collect only those which are useful for us. And so we selected the ISCO codes related to the marketing area only, to reduce the list of standard skills to only those that, again, were important for us. So we collected 3,135 competencies. And of course, okay, this one is a European standard list of skills, but it can of course be integrated with other skill taxonomies, which maybe you can find in other national or international databases. In our case, we decided to integrate this list of standard ESCO skills with further specific keywords related to the economic and marketing area. And to do it, we used Scopus, so a famous database of abstract and citations of millions of scientific papers and books, which contains many information for each document. So again, the abstract and citation, but also the journals, the year of publication, and so on. And on this database, we selected all the articles published by the 4 most relevant journals in management and engineering, according to the Italian Association of Engineering Management, which were the International Journal of Research in Marketing, Journal of Business Research, and others. And then what we did was took the 4,000 keywords of these articles, and we selected the most important among them. So those which appeared at least 5 times in all the articles. And we obtained 123 keywords related to the marketing field that we, let's say, choose as relevant for our aim. And so we added them to the job competencies list. So here there is, as you can see, a recap with all the data. We have the skills list composed of the 3,000 ESCO skills and then 123 scientific papers keywords. This list of skills is the lexicon of terms that we needed to find in job competencies written in the text. So down the job vacancies from Indeed and the university exams descriptions from Universitaly. We can now move to the methodological section. Here is just a brief overview. First of all, as usual, all the collected data has been prepared for the analysis. All the data was made of text, as I told you. So we applied some cleaning operations, such as the selection of the portion of the tests that were relevant for us. So as I told you before, for the job vacancies, the job activities, and mainly the skills requirement. And then for the university exams, we selected the learning outcomes and the expected skills. Then we tried to remove the noise, such as symbols, stop words, numbers, and so on. And then we divided all the texts into sentences, because we decided to set the unit of observation as the sentences. So in this way, we had to search skills in sentences and not in the, let's say, longer texts as a whole. After the preparation, we applied 3 different methods to perform the extraction of skills. These 3 methods are natural language processing techniques, that we applied together to all the sentences. The first one, as you can see here, is a simple string searching algorithm, which we named single word extraction. It is applied by taking all the skills composed of a single word and then searching them into all the sentences. So in this way, if a skill is present in a sentence, is written in a sentence, it is simply extracted by the algorithm. And as you can see from the example here, the language is Italian because this is a real example from our data set. But as you can see here, that is the skill cut, which is matched in the sentence because it's precisely written there. The second one is again a string searching algorithm, but more complex because it is done to match skills composed of more than one word, so multiple word skills. We name this method sequential keyword matching because it is not just a simple search. It is designed considering the fact that we were working with Italian texts. So Italian has many more declinations of words than English, for example. So as you can see from this example, probably you don't see the mouse, but as you can see from the example here, if we have the skill gestione dati, which in English is data management, we wanted also to match it, even if the same thing was said in another way, such as gestire i dati. So it is the same thing, but written with slightly different letters, actually. So the algorithm that we wrote considers also similar words. So usually words with the same root, and it takes into consideration also the case where the two or more words of a skill are separated by other words. As you can see in the example in the table in green, it is written the extracted skill is verificare impianti, which is in English is something like check installation. This is matched in the sentence on the left, even if the two words verifiche and impianti are not adjacent to each other and written in a little bit different way, because verifiche is not the same word as verificare, but still it has the same root. So this algorithm that we wrote is precisely done to manage this situation and manage as many skills as possible. The third method is again to deal with skills composed of multiple words. This is different from before because it is not a string searching algorithm. It is a semantic similarity method. So the idea here is to compare two strings, in our case, a sentence and a skill, and measure their similarity. So the algorithm firstly converts all the sentences and skills into numerical vectors, and then calculate the cosine similarity between all of them to assign, let's say, to each sentence the skill which is most similar to it. And here you can see an example where the skill redigere relazioni, which in English is write reports, is assigned to the sentence si occuperà di scrivere relazioni tecniche. So it is telling something like the job candidate is going to write reports. So since the two strings have high similarity, the skill redigere relazioni was assigned to the sentence. Here there is an overview with other examples of the skill extraction model applied to the sentences, to all the texts, combining all the three methods together. So on the top you can see an example from the job vacancies description where 4 different skills are matched in the text. So marketing management is matched, communication, marketing strategy, all combining all the different methods. And by a manual revision, we understood that our model is working quite good with the text that we used for our analysis. Okay, the last point of the methodology is about analyzing the results obtained with the extraction. We needed, of course, to let's say to use a metric to measure the accuracy of our model, and mostly to understand the relevance of the skill that we extracted. So the metric that was interesting mostly for us was mainly the frequency of each skill. So we decided to count how many times each skill occurred, for example, in all the job vacancies, and also in all the university exams. Then the alignment between the two, so between the job vacancies and the university exams, could be calculated by doing a delta, so a difference between the skills retrieved in the job vacancies and the skills retrieved in the university exams. Here I conclude for the methodology part. So I would like to ask you if there are any questions or any doubts that you wanted to ask.
Yes, I've collected a couple from the chat to break the ice, but then again, if anyone would like to ask any other question, we have plenty of time. So first question, can you please tell us a little bit in 1 minute more about Universitali, that is the database that we have used. So people is curious about it. So if you can show it, which is the structure, what's inside there, just to understand.
Okay, we can show
doing anything else similar also.
Yes, meanwhile, Simone find out Universitali on the web. I can tell you that this is a portal of the Italian Ministry of Education that collect all the information about the universities in Italy. In particular, this website include the location of the universities, their all the degree programs that each university offer, and finally the list of exams that are included in each degree program. The positive element of this website is that all the university have this own website with this its own structures, and so these make almost impossible to automatically detect the same content in the same way and in a different university. And so we decided to go on this portal to have an harmonic view of the Italian higher education system. In particular, we used this platform to understand which are the degree, the university that offer marketing-related degree programs. Then we manually go to each university website to collect all the learning outcomes of all the exams included in the degree program. So it was, how to say, the first step to understand which are, what is the educational offer in the marketing domain in Italy. In this website, sorry, but
it's not loading.
Yes, the connection, it seems we have connection problems, but I hope you can see the overview of the page. Here, the aim of the portal is to give students support when choosing their university career. So here they can understand what to study, where the university are located, how much the cost, how much it costs, so all the taxes and the contribution, if there are some courses in English, and how to make the right choice, both if one is an Italian student that wants to study in Italy, and also if for international students to understand how to move in the Italian panorama. And of course, this website is updated each year in order to provide timely information about the educational offer of the higher education system in Italy. So I hope you...
Thanks, Irene. Maybe it's there is also some problems with the microphone, so try to speak directly in the mic, because when you switch direction of your voice, the sound comes and go.
Okay.
Human is also asking, and then we move to another question, if in university you can choose by a click any type of degree program offered in your university in Italy, and then you can see their curricula or the list of skills, let's say.
Not directly the list of skills, but the degree programs offered in Italy. So the description of the program include the whole learning outcome of the degree program, considering all the topics that are addressed in the course, all the experience that students may face, such as period abroad, period in companies, and so on. But the list of competencies is embedded in this textual information and not directly expressed. This is the reason why we conducted our research.
Okay. Thank you, Rene. Another quick question, if you can tell us a couple of words about how ESCO can solve the problems of skills that are written in different ways, and how we have used ESCO as, I would say, an Esperanto for the different ways in which skills can be expressed.
Okay, yes. So ESCO is a standard database containing a list of skills. And so, of course, we had to, let's say, to write our algorithm to match their skills written in different ways in Italian. But actually, ESCO itself provides not only, let's say, the name of a list, so the main label of a list, but also, of a skill, but also a list of alternative labels of that list, of that skill. It is possible to have the same thing written in different ways, and also translated in many different languages. It can be used not only like in Italian and English, but in like 27 different languages. Yes, it is in this way that ESCO can help you in matching the skill, even if it is written in several ways and in several languages.
Okay, thanks, Simone. Then another quick question by Slavica that is asking about the resources that we have used, and if we can say a couple of words about the organization. So I can take this one. Slavica, for the analysis that you have seen, the analysis itself doesn't take let's say so much time, or as much time as you can imagine, because from a project management perspective, we can do this kind of activity in let's say 40 to 60 hours of a person working on that, plus a manager and helping him or her and checking the results. We have done a huge investment in designing the algorithm and writing the algorithm. So once this investment has been done, then in terms of time and resources is not so big, but using them again as a cost per se. Okay, there is Okay, I think we can go on, and then maybe we leave some space again at the end if there are any questions altogether. But there is Lorena with the raised hand. Please, Lorena.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for the presentation. I think it's quite relevant, the methodology. I have a question, but I don't know if it's a question, but how we can evaluate or be sure that the skills, competencies, and so on also matches with the interest of the industry, but in the real world. So maybe I'm wondering if you have checked or plan in the future just to check the alignment with the industry, just talking with the industry or companies about the alignment with data skills or competencies with the university. Because to me, as I work at the uni, I think that in some cases we are not aligned. I mean, they want, for example, communication, and we don't focus on communication skills. So I'm just thinking aloud.
I will try to answer. Thank you, Lorena, for the question. So the need of the industry in our work are mapped through the job vacancies. So the job vacancies describe, let's say, the willingness of the companies for the figure of the professional figures and the competencies that they may miss in their companies. But these job vacancies, the job vacancies properly represent this need, but not the whole panorama of the competencies in the industry. So to have the complete overview of all the skills that are necessary for the industry, it is necessary to complement the job vacancies also with other documents. For example, the description of the occupation within the company, the standard regulation that describe the requirement for each occupation. And so in this sense, we can have a look not only in the need, but also in what they are already covered.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there is also Alexandra with the raised hand. So we can take this one and then maybe we go on, and we left the other questions for the end. Please, Alexandra, go on.
Hi, thank you very much for this interesting presentation so far. I just wanted to ask about the time frame that you have followed, because I think it's quite important to know how long you've kind of, in terms of time frame, you took into consideration, because we know that there will be kind of spikes and changes in the demands for skills. So what currently employers are looking, which will be reflected in the job descriptions and job ads, but also maybe, as you suggested, slower on the university side. But every so often we go through a kind of a program of revalidations and changes, which might reflect the different focus and of course emphasis on different skills. So did you look at the kind of a longer term perspective, or what was the chunk of time frame that you looked into consideration?
Okay, thanks for your question. And let's say that with what we did about this point was to try to analyze the situation in a single moment, so in a single time frame. And so when we extracted all the data was on September and October 2020. So with this analysis, we understood the situation on that precise time. And of course, if we want to make an analysis which is trying to estimate or understand the evolution over time, it is something that we need to that we should try to reproduce periodically, or of course also try to understand other ways to make it more automatical. But for now, for what we did was apply our method in a single time frame to understand the situation in that precise moment. Okay, so
Okay. Thanks, Simo. You can go on. Thanks, Alessandro, for the question.
okay. And the next section is about the results that we obtained with our by applying our methodology on the data that we collected in that moment. As you can see here, there are some statistics of the results of the extraction. We got around 232 unique skills extracted from the job vacancies, and 145 from the university exams. On average, the job vacancies contain more skills than the exams descriptions, for 5.4 against 3.99. And on the right, there is a violin plot showing the frequency distribution of the competencies retrieved in the job vacancies, where on the left there are those which are also found in the exams, while on the right those which were not found in the exams in the university dataset. So it is possible to understand that all the most frequent and important skills of job vacancies are also present in the exams. So because those which are not present in the exams on the right have very low frequency in the job vacancies, lower than 10%. So this means that from this first statistical analysis, we understood that there is an alignment between the two words on the general view. But then, of course, we can deepen some specific skills to understand which are those which are missing to the university teaching. And for the next outcomes and results, I leave the floor back to Irene.
So, this is the second main result of our work, which is a graph that represents each skill based on the comparison of the relevance in the two analyzed areas. In this plot, we have each point represent a given skills, and the position depends on the so-called normalized delta, so the normalized difference of the frequency of each skill in degree programs and job vacancies that we have computed, and as Simone explained just before. From this graph, we can see several lines that define the three main groups in which all the observation can be divided. So the skills that are aligned in both areas, that are positioned in the middle of the graph, and the ones that are more relevant in education, which are positioned in the upper part of the graph, and more relevant in the labor market, which are positioned in the lower part of the graph. The position depends on, as I said, the difference. And so when the difference of the frequency is close to zero, it means, and so the skill is placed here in the middle, it means that the relevance of the skills in the labor market is comparable with the relevance of the skills in the degree programs. And so the skills are addressed with the proper focus in both domains. But the first insights that we can get from this plot is that most of the skills are aligned. Most of the skills are aligned, but if we watch at the tails of this distribution, some gaps emerge. In fact, in a glimpse that we will see in detail all of the information, the skills that are aligned as regards mainly the traditional function of marketing in the middle, while the one most relevant in education address mainly theoretical knowledge, and the one most relevant in labor market address practical abilities and digital skills. So let's go in deep. First of all, here we can see in this table that seems complex, but we will see how to read it. We see the competencies that have equal or comparable frequency in the two areas. In each column there is the skill, the translation in English, and the frequency in the two dataset and the normalized delta. So first of all, we can see some entries related to the business management, because marketing is one of the main functions in each company, and so we have some skills related to planning and both strategy and budgets, but also some related to the organization of human resources. For example, lead the team. Other skills that emerge from this graph, from this table, sorry, are the one related to the customer relations. So, for example, channel marketing. So the channel with which companies deliver their product and service to companies, but also sales strategies, response to consumer inquiries, and analyze problems for opportunities. Then we have other entries related to commercialization and promotions, that are two other main activities of the marketing related professionals, such as planned digital marketing, social media marketing, and manage online communication. And in this case, we can see how these skills are mainly related to the implementation of the marketing strategies in digital media, so both on a website and on social networks. Then we can move to another similar table, which depict the skills that have higher frequency in the degree programs. And so it address all the skills that has registered a higher frequency in the degree programs instead, rather than in the job vacancies. As we can read, they address mainly theoretical knowledge, as already said. We can highlight, for example, the famous 4P marketing, so product pricing strategy, pricing, promotion, place. Then we have other knowledge related to the managerial part, so both economics and business analysis, but also company policies and managed processes. And finally, and also related to the let's say managerial part, the innovation process and the contribution that a marketing expert can give towards innovation, especially addressing the emerging needs of customers in many sectors. Then in this table emerge two main skills addressing digitalization, which are database, that can be read together with statistics to address the data analytics that marketing professionals perform in order to gather objective information about the needs of the customers. Finally, for what concerns the skills that have higher frequency in the job vacancies, we can see that the panorama is more wider, and it is focused on practical abilities, digital skills, and transversal skills. First of all, we can see some skills related to selling and promotion. And so again, the principal function of marketing is found also here with merchandising, communication, sales activities, publishing strategies, and so on. There is a greater focus on a customer-centered strategy, and so provide a whole customer experience that fulfill the need of the clients. Then there are several entries addressing the utilization of social media and website for delivering the marketing strategies. For example, search engine optimization, managed website, digital marketing techniques, and so on. Then here it is not highlighted, but there are also some transversal skills such as teamwork principle, speak different languages, communication that are becoming more and more important, not only in marketing, but also in all the industries and sectors. So here again, the space for question, for some question, and then we will conclude with some, we will draw some conclusion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Irene. There is a first question here in the chat that is quite interesting. That is understanding if this algorithm is freely usable by others and how much time is needed to do this analysis. The algorithm is open access because we all only use the open access sources. The problem is that since we are not a company, but we are a research group, we didn't design any interfaces or there are no user-friendly software, let's say, that you can open and launch. There is code that we are happy to share and collaborate with other researchers for sure. And how much time did it needed to do these analysis? The first time that we have launched took about 5 months to do the design and implementation of the first version of the analysis and implement it. But I think that now that we have this algorithm, as I told you before, in between 2 or 3 weeks, we can do a first draft of the analysis. What kind of skills does the research team members should have? There is the need of a mixed group of skills, so IT skills for sure, and the programming skills. So we have always one person that is able to write and understand code, R or Python code, to do some of the text mining analysis and visualizations that you see. But there is also the need for people that is expert in skills analytics, HR, more in general, to understand better the results, to validate the results, and to help the more IT side to implement the algorithm. In our case, we are quite lucky because we grown up our PhD students having both the no need for having many different persons. Then last question. Okay, no, last question was yes, this one, only IT skills, not only IT skills, but also education and HR skills.
Please, Filippo, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Francesca. So just to conclude, as we have seen, and also to introduce the brainstorming session that we have designed for today, to conclude, as you have seen, as Irene Simo told us, successful digitalization, as we know, required skilled workforce. We know this very well, and we need. It's clear that we need tool to manage this transition that we are facing, and to understand from one side the requirements of the labor market, to support education in general, whatever is higher education or VIT education. Our method as you understood some strengths that we will discuss together now, that it is a data-driven method, and so we are able to understand how much the request, the demand side and the offer side is aligned in a data-driven way. For sure, these strengths has a weakness, that is, we need data, and this is one of the main points that we will discuss together, where we can find other sources of data that we can use. Are you aware of any other kind of databases that we can use? On the other side, there is another strength that what we have shown you. It's an up-to-date reference framework. So this is very much a timely framework that we can use to understand what's going on. And also here there is a weakness behind that is every time we need to do it again. Every year we need to do it again. We need to monitor what is going on. There are also some general weakness here. First of all, the domain that we have analyzed is only one. So we have focused for this research on the marketing domain, but we are very curious to see what is going on in other domain. We are very curious to do cross-domain studies to understand also what's going on in different domains. The documents that we have used are in Italian language, but as I already asked, the tool can be used also in other languages. The Italian case, as I already told you, is within a specific time frame. So as told, we need to do it, we have to do it again and again every year, maybe, to understand and to monitor the evolution of the skills. To sum up, and before moving to the final brainstorming session, this research project has been founded partially co-founded by the European Commission, by Erasmus+, thanks to the Assets Plus project, which is the skill alliance in defense in Europe. So let's open up the discussion, even if the discussion has already been opened before. So let me put in the chat the link to the Jamboard that we will use in a second. We want to focus on three main questions, three main discussions to do together using the board. So first of all, the text to be analyzed to extract the job competencies. So in the first part of the brainstorming session, we will focus on which sources of data we can use. And I will show you that we will focus on job related sources, so job market related sources and educational sources. Then we will move to the more language side, let's say, and understanding the lexicon of job competencies to be searched in the text. So the second question will be, we will answer the question, how skills are expressed in different languages. So if there are any peculiarities in your language to consider when we have to do the kind of analysis that we have done. Finally, we will move to the third question, that is, which are different fields of interest, maybe considering specific characteristics of specific nations that can have some context that are more interesting than others, and on which maybe you feel that there is more need to do this kind of analysis and understanding if the educational side, higher education or VIT education, is able to go behind the job market. So finally, we will ask, in which domains are we interested in working? Let me briefly remember you some of the brainstorming rules, which are very important to do to carry on a brainstorming session in the proper way. First of all, have wide ideas. So don't be scared of going out of the box now. If you have strange ideas coming on, also on our methods, please feel free to share and don't be shy. Let's build on the ideas of others. So you should use other ideas in an explicit way and make links with what people are saying. Let's try to stay focused on the topic. So I will try to keep each question around 15 minutes so that we have this time frame and we are able to focus on what we are doing. Let's try to have one conversation at a time. Our goal is to go for quantity, so don't be afraid of the quality of what you have said. And as we will see, we will make it possible for you to track your idea using Post-it. So the brainstorming tool that we will use is the Jamboard. So I think here now I can take the screen. I hope that you can see my screen, correct? Perfect. So as I told you in this first part, we will brainstorm about possible data sources. As you can see, the board is divided in two. So on the left, you can put ideas about possible sources or possible idea where to find information about how to monitor the labor market. This can be done in general in Europe, but specifically in your country. To do that, you can go here, you can take a new note, and as you will see, when I click on save, you have this new note, okay? At the same time, you can also brainstorm about the higher education or VAT sources that we can use. So in Italy, we have used Universitali. Maybe there are other kind of sources for higher education all around, but also, as we told, there can be vocational educational training resources that can be interesting for us. So while you are writing down some ideas, I will try to keep up and keep the discussion open. So as we were discussing before, the labor market part can be tricky somehow. Okay, so LinkedIn is coming on. So web pages like LinkedIn or InfoJobs for Spain and LinkedIn here. Okay, super interesting. As you know, LinkedIn has some straight policies for data scraping. We have tried it up in the past, but it can be for sure of interest to check out this data source. Then there is talking directly to companies. Who is can I ask to the one that written this one if there is anything else to add? Maybe go in deeper details. Talking directly to companies. Okay, it meant to be interactive in the sense not only that you write but also that you speak. So please don't be shy. Okay, vacancy page, PF PES website. Also here, okay. Labor force survey for sure. Oh, okay. EURES, written EURES, if you can tell us a couple of words more about EURES.
It was me. Somebody else also? No.
I was sorry. I was talking. Sorry, I had a problem with my microphone, but I was talking about talking directly to companies. I mean, maybe to go to the human resources department just directly, or maybe through LinkedIn you can contact with, and just to say, hey, what do you expect from the I mean, for the labor market or a particular, I don't know, a
Okay.
particular profile, and that's what I mean.
Okay, do you have in mind maybe any companies already that you...
I work in cybersecurity, so I always think of companies related to cybersecurity, but that's my field. It doesn't matter. Just you can focus. I mean, imagine that you are working in marketing or whatever. You can look for big companies in that regard and just go directly to them.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Lorena. Then EURES, I think it was Manuela.
Yes, it was me. I think EURES is very interesting as it's connected with ESCO and Europass. So it's one of the European Union tools aimed to speak the same language when
There is some noise. Sorry if you can.
microphone.
Yeah. Okay, and you know that this data is open and usable, Manuela, for...
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know?
If
Okay.
there are some job offers by you can enter as a in order to apply for a job or and make a search, or you can be an employer and make an offer on this European Union platform. And it's very interesting as I said before, it's connected with the other European Union, so it facilitates the dialogue also between countries in the job market.
Okay. Do you know of any studies that already use these data source? Are you aware of any of it, Manuela?
What do you mean studies? Probably, of course, yes.
Yeah.
I was not involved in them, but I'm sure it was used. And there is also a way at European Union to facilitate the dialogue between the different platforms. So I know that Europe is working in order to make it easily understandable and usable by all the stakeholders, but I'm not aware about specific projects or...
Okay, good. Okay, really good idea. We have to investigate it even better. So labor force surveys, who is this one from? It's an interesting one, but we need to understand. Okay, Francesca, please. Are you aware of any surveys with names and surname of surveys that can be of interest?
Well, we work with LFS data in all the countries. Basically, we take that as an entry point when we analyze basic labor market information, activity rate, unemployment, but many other, data on households. And that's our main entry point. The other one I put was administrative data that we usually use to cross reference. Also, it's also interesting that sometimes data don't coincide. We experience this probably in many countries, not only partner countries of ETF, even in the EU. So this coherence between the data is quite key.
Okay. Yeah, very, very interesting. Thank Francesca. Direct employers messages. This is I think I understood what does it mean, but I want the speaker to talk so that the writer to talk so that I'm sure I understood. Direct employers messages. Who wrote this one?
This is myself who wrote this. Basically,
Marcel.
I mean that when the employer could address directly, for example, to the educational provider, or make an open request in its Facebook page or something similar, that I need this kind of specialist.
Nice. And are you aware of any repositories, maybe in your nations, of this data? Do you know?
No, I don't have. We don't have the repository of this, but we have maybe not very rich, but a practice when the company put an open advertisement at their web page, for example, or in the Facebook or LinkedIn, something like this, that we need this, and this.
Okay. Okay, got it. Many thanks.
Usually it's done at the web page of the company in the section like vacancy needed.
Okay, in the yeah, I know. So in the web page of each company, yeah, can be interesting to understand if this is feasible. Then occupational standards, I think also it's an interesting point. Anyone want to speak a bit about this?
Yes, I wrote it. I don't know whether it is usable, but I know that in many countries there are attempts to develop occupational standards for each different sectors, also for wet occupations, not only higher education. So might be, I mean, if they are the standards that are already implemented, I mean, translated into qualifications and implemented in the schools, they may be a source, I assume. Because there are these qualifications databases, normally for each program, there is the, you know, a paper, if not online, where they put all the skills, competences required, what kind of credits or, you know, lectures to be taken or practice needed, etc. So this is good. The qualification, the definition of each qualification, which must be somewhere in every country. I'm not aware that there is a database of that in one specific country, but I think occupational standards and qualification standards, they can be used if they are in a database, you know, online format.
Yeah, on this I have a question which is an unexpected point that is emerging here, because someone put the occupational standards also on the higher education part. So question is for Romano, but also for the person who written this in the other side. Would you use occupational standards as a way to monitor the labor market or as a way to monitor the educational side?
That's a good question.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, it works in both ways, but I know that the order can be different from country to country. Sometimes they develop first the occupational standards and then update the curricula and qualifications according to the occupational standards, but sometimes it's the vice versa. Normally we suggest to do it the first way. You know, normally you start with what employers want, so the occupational standards, and then education system has to reflect this in their curricula, qualifications, etc.
Okay, got it. So another expected thing is social media, which has been put, I think, in a good way also in between labor market and higher education, because we can use this in both sides. But I want to know something more about that by the person, from the person that has this idea. Social media person maybe went away. Okay. So no problem, but yeah.
Sorry,
please.
sorry, it was me, but I didn't manage to unmute myself.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know
please.
what was wrong. Yeah, I put social media right in the middle between labor market and higher education and VET, because social media, gather a lot of information, feelings, sentiments. We have started with some other, institution, for instance, Eurofound, agency of the European Union, to work on social media sentiment. So in a way, there are also some types of information which, of course, are not hardcore data as those that you can find, for instance, in EURES or job vacancies or LFS, but still you can gather another type of information. So, for instance, how happy people are with the content of the studies, whether they have found an employment after they finish their study and how much time that has happened. So I think it's not fully exploited yet, but it's an area of quite big development, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. We are also doing some experimentation here, actually with Simone, about hearing the voice of the students from social media. So trying to isolate all the tweets in this case. So using Twitter, try to isolate the tweets that has been made by students to understand their sentiment towards specific topics. And this can be interesting to do. This is also something that can have a national, interpretation, and see if the sentiment changes from nation to nation about some topics. So something quite interesting is emerging from what we are doing there, because there is all the psychological issues after the COVID breakthrough. There is the use of artificial intelligence for cheating or for not cheating, or for using it for, doing the exercises for exams and so on and so forth. So I think social media has not been used yet, how it can be used for studying this kind of phenomena, also educational related phenomena. I agree. So then there is someone who wrote tracer studies.
Yeah, it was me again.
Okay, no problem.
You want me to say a couple of words?
Yeah.
Tracer studies are the studies that are conducted in almost all countries to understand the path of graduates after the end of their courses. So, for instance, in Italy is Alma Laurea, but there are many other in most of the countries, and we have worked with a few countries to track that. And the type of information that you gather is, of course, very valuable for the content of the study and the relevance to the labor market. So whether, for instance, the candidate after, the student after completing university is able to find a job which is in line with the field of his study, so with his level of skills, and also, of course, gives information about the wage level, and all other types of information, the time to find the first job after university. So that's quite important. And of course, it's the loop that generates that it's important. So to feed this information into the programs, so the information that goes back to the university, that goes back to the vet course, to tell whether the course is really in line with the needs of the market or not.
Yeah, thank you very much. Before moving to the next part, there is another sources which is of interest from my side, that is curricula. Who wrote curricula? I hope not Francesca.
I wrote curriculum.
Okay. Can you please tell us something about it?
Yes. Basically, maybe this is Ukrainian tradition, but we try to follow the way that Umuha described mostly. Partly when we have developed occupational standards, they could be reflected in the curricula and educational programs, especially mainly of the vet institutions, but sometimes we observe it in the higher education programs. But if we don't have the occupational standards, which are still not in the necessary quantity in Ukraine, the the vet providers can take the a bit old-fashioned but still present and valid qualificational characteristics, or like it is said, a qualificational specification derived from the Soviet Union times. Sometimes they are they're a bit old, but they have these qualification requirements in terms of what a person should know and do after the graduation course, and put it also in the educational program, which means basically it gives us the source of the skills and knowledge of a person.
Yeah. I think this can be a great source. It's good to understand if there are national repositories. So I don't know if you are aware of any national repositories from your country that can be used, or if there are.
Well, the problem is that still we don't have, but as I wrote in the chat, we are in the process of development of such a repository where we can where we try to put everything related to the VET education, and which is present in the electronic format in the national web space. We're in the beginning of the way, but basically we do it.
Okay. Nice.
I will provide you the link just for your understanding. It's in Ukrainian, of course, but it gives the general overview of how we do it.
Okay. So thank you very much. So talking about different languages, I would like to move now to the next one. That is a way to understand if anyone is interested in doing this kind of analysis in his or her own language, and also understanding if there are any peculiarities, any characteristics of your language that you know can be of interest to study, or can be you know, a problem to analyze, to do the analysis that we have shared now. So please write down if it comes to your mind any characteristics of your nation, of your language, that can make it hard to do what we have shown, or also that can facilitate the analysis that we have shown you, to understand if there can be any synergies, maybe.
Filippo, maybe you can give us an example.
Okay, thank you. So, for example, in Italy, we had the Open Italy source, that is a national source written in Italian language. Okay, and since we have to analyze this kind of text, we had to move into understanding how skills are written in Italian language. So, for example, here Irene put down an example in English that is, in English we can have a skill that is written like ability to do something. I don't know if there are any peculiarities also in other languages that can help us in identifying skills inside text, but also more in general, if there is any characteristics of your language or of your nation in general that can help us understanding and applying the kind of analysis that we have done. Or if just you are interested somehow in using what we have shown in the Italian case, in your case, you know, because you know that there is this problem, specific problem, maybe for which the tool that we show is of interest.
I think this one is tough one. We need to think.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, this one is a tough one.
Yeah, well, I was thinking also, reflecting that, you know, going to the specificities of the languages, it can be really, it requires specific work, I think, because I was thinking, for example, the definition or the word of skills in my language. And, you know, there is always this issue of finding the right wording vis-a-vis the English. I mean, of course, there is always the translation, etc. But you always feel that the translation is a bit, how can I say, artificial. You have to really find, or sometimes invent, the right word to reflect, or instead of one word in English like skill, I have to use, I don't know, 5 words to describe it.
Sure.
And maybe in some languages this is more difficult. For example, at least in my case, I think I'm talking about Turkish because we don't have these articles, we don't have gender differentiation in the language. And it's very general for foreigners to understand the differences between the words and meaning, because it's less specific in the way of expression.
That's the point.
So it needs a special session, I think, to go through the specificities of each language, but it's definitely needed.
Yeah, and I understand, and that's the point also of you know, abstracting a bit the question. So also without focusing on language, if anyone has any, you know, ideas of specific characteristics of the nation, more in general. So they know that they have maybe some databases that we have seen before with some specific problem regarding the alignment between university and, education in general and job market, that maybe we can discuss. Otherwise, we move to the last panel, which is maybe even more of interest for everyone. There is some chat. Okay, there is Nino that tells skills operationalization will be the problem in our case. I don't know if Nino wants to tell something more about this, or if this is related to another discourse. It's about the meaning of the specific skill. Okay. For example, communication ability. Okay. Sure. So yeah, please.
Basically, we have more or less the same problem in Ukraine when we are speaking specifically about the soft skills, because there is a variety of different definition of, for example, soft skills. And like Nino gave the example in the communication ability, we have invented quite occasionally that team building, a lot of different persons understand in a different way, or time management, for example. And basically, we even now are coming to the idea to develop a kind of national glossary on the meanings and understandings under these soft skills in Ukraine. And maybe there are general repositories or glossaries which we could use.
What Rodin was saying is quite interesting, because this questioner came to my mind, which is not so much related to the topic of this morning, maybe yes, that is how soft skills are understood by different cultures and how the language reflect these differences. I think it's interesting that there can be differences, and these reflect on the way in which we talk about it. So, okay, if there are no other points on that, I would like to move to the last one. I don't know if anyone else. Okay. So, last but not least, fields of interest. What I mean with fields of interest, as you have seen, we have applied the method to the marketing domain, but because it was it was our interest to study this domain for the specific scientific journal where we were publishing the method. But in general, there can be an interest on using this kind of method also on other domains. And so if you have any desires of applying these, please write also in specific nations. I think this can be interesting. So if you can put also the mix fields / nation of interest. So I want to do a study of AI in this specific nation because we have I know that there is this kind of problem in keeping the pace with digital transformation here. So I think that this can be good for discussion. Who put it AI? A very bold.
You know who was? Of course, me.
Emanuela, please. Emanuela,
I should say, if you want me to restrict the area, artificial intelligence in public services, as I think it's a priority in many European Union countries now. In PA and so there is a very fast evolution in this area. A low questions about the possible applications, a lot of job offers, and few answers from the educational point of view. On the basis of what I learned in this sector, I think it's very important to focalize the attentions on the future applications of artificial intelligence. As at the beginning, we thought about it just about the robotics, but of course it can be applied in many fields.
Sure. You know that I agree. So I leave the word to Francesca.
Well, just to echo what Manuela just said, the AI, artificial intelligence, is definitely one of the fields that as researchers we have to investigate more. There is already evidence, but very little, compared to what could came up. And in ETF, for your information, we are already doing that reflection on how to use artificial intelligence to better understand the needs, the skills needs in the labor market, but also the application so how to use AI, for instance, for other type of public services, career guidance, the matching that someone mentioned in the chat, etc. So definitely, I think is one of the key area of investigation that should be done. And then a little bit of promotion for those that don't know, that have not seen the news. We have launched in December, just before Christmas, a call for innovative research proposals. The call will be open until end of February, if I'm not wrong. And the idea there is really to make some proposals in partnership. So research center, not a single research center, but different research centers in partnership with one of ETF partner countries as well in the consortium. And the idea is really to think about these innovative methodologies that could be used. So if there is an interest in that, consider that we have the call, it's open, and it would be very nice to receive proposals along these lines. So I think that the opportunity of discussing today is also that you could see as members who else could be interested in running a research on the topics that you are interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. And on this point, I think that tourism is an hot one, because it's quite interesting from the methodological side, from our side, and has its peculiarities in each nation. So I written tourism, but someone has anticipated me. So also tourism sector, tourism related occupation. Who wrote this one? Oman, please. And also
yes.
Rodion.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wrote it because I think, well, I was thinking also what we have done in the ETF before, because we have these sector studies to analyze future skill demand in specific sectors. We did it for automotive, for energy sector, for agri-food, etc. Recently construction, for example. But we looked at only the demand side. So we looked at, well, basically we looked at the patents and scientific papers, which to analyze the possible developments in the coming years and identify change factors and specific technologies that are coming. And based on that, we reflected it and compared it with the ESCO occupational profiles. And we had a kind of better understanding for the skills which will be needed in that specific sector, in that specific country, because always the research of patents and scientific papers were based on the country-specific information. So patents from that country and scientific papers coming from that country. Now, thinking about it, I think we need to look at the supply side. So what is being offered on construction and compare it. So I think tourism is one of the things, but the more specific sector we choose or specific occupations we choose, the more detailed data we can get from the analysis, because the general one is always giving us more general results, you know, all the programs of engineering. But we know that, for example, there is not one-to-one direct correlation between the education programs or vocational programs, even more at the higher education, and occupations. I mean, an engineer can work in any place, basically, in all sectors, in different ways, even worse for economists or, you know, social scientists. So probably to address this challenge, it's better we go specific, sector specific. I don't know, it's just an idea.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, and going sector specific is the best way also to study the demand side, because the demand side can be as tricky as the offer side. So what educational providers are actually doing. One part to take into consideration that maybe didn't come out this morning is it comes from AI, that people is educating themselves also using open educational resources, which are transnational resources, or using massive online open courses, MOOCs, right? So also this has to be taken into consideration. So when someone has to increase her or his AI skills, it's not always the national educational system or the VIT educational system that helps improving this kind of skills, but maybe they go on Coursera, they go on resources that are open by Google, and so on and so forth. So also this has to be taken into consideration, and we are doing also some work on that. Then there is digital arts and culture, which is also interesting. Anyone want to say a couple of words on that?
Yes, that was me. I put it up there because I was doing a research with my colleague at the University of West of Scotland around those issues, and it was very much kind of tied with the pandemic, because we know that pandemic hugely impacted the hospitality, but also predominantly the live events and widely arts. So we were very much interested in trying to understand what kind of digital skills are being offered on the educational offer in the higher education. So I was listening intently to your presentation today because we did it manually. Would have loved
okay.
But the explanation is that we had, as Scotland as a nation, we had a small enough population of 19 universities, and not all of them offered performance programs. So it was easy. So we looked at the performance programs just to scan for that idea of a digital skills presence. And again, it's very interesting in the sense of, if you might call it labor market, although in arts, which is much more fractured and much more informal labor market, so we don't necessarily know that much about job offers, all of them, because a lot of them are done kind of informally through the PALs and recruitment, kind of a freelance world. But on the whole, it was interesting to see that even though there is a push on that digital kind of notions and development of skills in the university programs, there is very little very little. And now is only picking up with all the post-pandemic and kind of a live performance, avatar words and all of that. So it'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye. So maybe that's a nice way to look at it. But also on the side, what you mentioned, Filippo, about developing of the skills, then we did follow up with actually performers and performance makers, just to try to ask them, what did they do? You know, like how do they took their skills and kind of offering into the online world. And of course, for a lot of them, that was the first time. So they developed skills on the go, and very much in this sort of way of, okay, I don't know how to do this and that. So they would just Google, do the YouTube courses, anything else, just to, you know, upskill themselves in the absence of, you know, any kind of a formal interventions. And especially during COVID, when there was nothing happening apart from really closing the theaters and musical venues. So that was interesting, and very much I agree with you. That's an interesting aspect that often we forget, and it's difficult for us to measure it, because how do we tap into that? How do we know what individuals are doing?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Alexandra. Very, very good point. And I'm also interested to, I don't know if the study that you were talking about is public, and we can have a look on what you have done, because I think it can be very interesting to see. And so we can get in touch later and talk about it. Then there is Manuela and Francesca. I don't know who raised it first. Maybe let's go for Manuela and then Francesca.
Manuela first.
Right. Okay.
You know, very briefly, as hearing about MOOCs, Coursera, so maybe another interesting field is to explore and facilitate the development of a database for microcredentials, as microcredentials is the answer to ensure the quality of the courses for upskilling and reskilling. So to facilitate the knowledge about digital skills for somebody who is already employed or just need to take a part of his background and connect it with his field of studies. And probably the next developments in this field are really important, and they can be included in the future fields of interest. As a qualitative answer, I should say.
Yeah, no, I got your point. And I think it's quite interesting about this, the database idea, the database of open badges. And I was thinking about what kind of relationship there can be between a database of open badges and a database of OER, of open educational resources. Because there are a lot around, you know, there is Merlot, there is, I remembered some of them, these kind of databases where you can find every kind of educational resources that is in Creative Commons, and you can reuse and so on and so forth. And there can be a link between them.
Now the official definition of microcredentials is very new.
Fuzzy.
So of course we have some elements to take into account and easily understand which education respond to the qualitative elements of a microcredential. So I'm sure it will arrive in the next future in the development of this area. We are still very young, and but I think it will arrive for sure.
Yeah, agree. Francesca, please.
Yeah, my question echo what you asked, Filippo, if we could get the results, if it is published, of the research that Alexandra was mentioning. And then I had one question, when you say arts and culture, if you also consider craft, or if that is out of your sphere of research. Why I'm asking, because one of the sectors we have worked on that Umuhan referred to before is craft, and we have run we have developed portraits and in-depth studies on 4 countries, mostly in the Eastern Partnership countries. And what we will do now at the end end of February, we will run a cross-country exercise, foresight exercise on the future of craft, together with other organizations, UNESCO, UNIDO, Union for Mediterranean, and Michelangelo Foundation. But our focus will be about craft, based on what we have found. But it would be very nice to see also your methodology and compare with the type of research that we have conducted.
Sounds very interesting. And I didn't look at the crafts at all, mostly because the predominant focus was on workers who work who basically cannot take work anywhere else. So you cannot, do it from your studio. You cannot do it in an isolated way. You cannot do it from. You have to perform in a public spaces, and those were closed predominantly for majority of times during the COVID. So we really concentrated on live performance, meaning theater, dance, and music to extent. But that would be really, really interesting too. So it would be lovely to keep in touch.
Thank you, Alexandra. I don't know if there are any other points, suggestions. Otherwise, I think we can go through the end. Also, because 2 hours and a half was a big goal for attention. Yeah. So I don't know if there are any other questions. Otherwise, maybe Francesca or Human, I leave the floor to you to finalize the work.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Filippo. I think I would, the discussion was extremely enriching and really full. And I'm really grateful to Filippo and to the team for this, because it has been really enriching and full of ideas. I would actually pass the floor to Umuhan and Timo, my colleagues from ETF, if you want to make some reflections about what we heard, and also what this can mean for the research community and the members of the network.
Okay, thank you. I agree that this has been really very interesting discussion, and I hope that it will create an interest among some other members to do similar research, if of course there is databases with the information required. But let's think about what we have at each country level, and if you think, one of you thinks that there are information sources that can be used to apply, for example, this kind of research in your country, I would like to encourage every one of you to contact to us, because there are different opportunities or for doing similar work, if there is an interest, of course. One is we can always disseminate and find you different types of research and researchers via the email address. I put it in the chat, which is network@etfskillslab.eu. But we have also recently published a call for joint research proposals, and it is still open for any applications, submissions until the end of February. For the moment, this is the deadline to apply, at least to express interest in a short format. And then, of course, we can find the opportunities, to understand what opportunities are available for your research proposal, including, of course, Filippo's team or others, depending on your area of interest. Well, I would like to express also that this was only the first one we started on this peer learning, how to research and understand the supply and demand side of the skills. There are many other ways, but as you know, all of you, big data is gaining increasing importance, and it's still new, kind of still innovative, although we start to hear more often. But when it comes to implementation of this research tool, it is still less known and less used. But it saves a lot of time and energy from the researchers. What I see is that it has a very big potential, but of course the systems has to be designed according to the requirements of such a methodology, such as the online format of information databases. But also this can give us an idea for the public institutions to reorganize their information sources, to give the opportunity for big data analysis. I don't know, for example, I was thinking that in every country there is a high level authority which oversees, monitors, and gives information about higher education system or vet education system. But I'm not sure if they include specific information on the curricula or existing programs. It's worth to check. But if you are aware that your country has this kind of information, I think the big part of the prerequisite to do such a survey is already there, the availability of information source. So please do come back to us with the email and the links we put in the chat if you are interested for any follow-up in your own country. And this kind of peer learning activities will continue. There will be also other methodologies, other types of events you will attend, at least 2 for this year, for example, another 2 events. And you can also propose, by the way, to organize the peer learning by yourself, by your institution. Please also think about it if you think you have something to offer to our network members, because this is a community that every member should contribute, and I hope this will be the case. I think I will stop here. I don't know whether my colleague Timo wants to say any last word, maybe thank you part, because I forgot to thank anyway for all the speakers, which was, by the way, great presentations for all of 3.
Thank you.
Maybe, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, thanks a lot. I apologize. I was able to join you a little bit late, so I missed some part of your presentation. But anyway, I found it very interesting what I managed to hear and get out of your presentation and the discussion, and agree with Umuhan that this example is a good example. How you can really analyze the sort of demand and supply together. I think what we have done also at ETF in some partner countries, that we have run the big data analysis, but it has focused mainly on the demand side, while this could be an opportunity to really look at how the supply is in harmony or matches with the demand. I think actually many of our partner countries, I think it's still something to be developed, but many, and I made one example for example, in Georgia, there is a web portal on vet programs, and I had a quick look, using the Google translation, because I am not able to read Georgian, that they have actually put all educational standards and things, for different profiles. So in theory, I think there is a possibility, maybe with some manipulation, to do this kind of comparative analysis. And I think another thing is that also in our work overall, in supporting the reforms in the countries, we have we have been supporting countries to modernize they particularly the vocational education system, so that the the qualifications are prescribed as learning outcomes with skills and competencies. So in theory, I think the information is there or is coming up. Whether it's available online, that it could be used for this kind of analysis, I think it might still take time, but I think there is a potential. I think that's something that we need to keep this in mind, that we don't continue only doing these things manually, but really using the existing sources. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind overall in our work. But thank you very much for your interest and your interesting presentations, and I hope that we will have some interesting follow-up discussions also. And as Muhan said, if you in the network, if you have done something or if you plan to do something, I think feel free to contact us, because the idea of this network is really that we share, that we don't reinvent the wheel, here and there, but we really, build on what has been done and use the potential of all participants. Thank you.
So I think these last words of Umuhan and Timo can close the event. So from my side and on behalf of the ETF, I want to thank, first of all, the speakers, the presenters, not only for your research, which is extremely valuable and promising, but also for volunteering and taking your time to prepare for this peer learning activity and put your knowledge at the disposal of others, which I think is really an amazing thing that you have done. So I really want to thank you for that, and of course I want to thank all other members for taking the time to be with us today. As Umuhan mentioned, please feel free to reach out if you have like knowledge and research findings, methodology that you want to put at the disposal of the other members. We are very happy to hear that, to discuss the best format to organize that. So thank you again, and well, see you very soon for the other activities of the Network of Experts. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.